more than 170,000 people suffer from infertility in Wisconsin. A family is now sharing how they overcame their battle. And this is not a typical infertility story. WMTV's Cameron Kelly talked with them. And Cameron, the family actually had 2 kids before becoming infertile.
That's right, Mark. Abby Wiley was able to have 2 boys before the birth of her second son. And that's when she was diagnosed with a rare condition, which required her to have her uterus removed.
During my pregnancy with our second, I was diagnosed with placenta accreta, which came as a huge shock.
Abby Wiley developed a rare and serious condition, which occurs when the placenta grows too deeply into the uterine wall.
A lot of people struggle from the get-go. And certainly I think, our story is a little bit more unique because we arrived at infertility in a very different way.
UW Health's director of Generations Fertility Care breaks down what happens when a patient has placenta accreta.
As a result, the placenta cannot separate and come off. It is stuck there. And of course, the uterus needs to expel that and contract to stop all the bleeding. And if women cannot expel the placenta, they'll continue to bleed, which is not healthy.
Wiley's family received support from Ford Fertility in Madison to help with their next steps.
I mean, this gift, we've been able to complete our family because of surrogacy.
Wiley and her husband now have an 8-month-old baby girl. She says the process is expensive.
I think a lot of people just give up right away because it's so expensive. And I would encourage people to just have those conversations and not give up just because it seems unattainable.
This week is National Infertility Awareness, and she hopes her story uplifts others.
Infertility can be such a dark place. And you can feel so much despair, and there can be so much hope also. And so just encourage people to not give up, and the light is there.
Wiley says it's important to be sensitive to people's journeys. Asking questions like, when are you going to have a baby, can be hurtful. She encourages others to be mindful of each other. Live in the studio, Cameron Kelly, WMTV 15 News.